Yeah, Cap. I find myself. We'll bring in Jesse and Mike and Felix here in a second to talk all things Think. As mentioned, as we're bringing this all together, this is an interview where we have partnered with them to work with them a little bit. But we've had them on the show long before we did that. So certainly a really cool product and a really cool concept and an important concept, I think, to hammer home, as Mikey did a few weeks ago when we had him on, and people were definitely impressed by that interview a few weeks ago by Mike. So before we go over to Mikey, I want to bring in Felix and Jesse and let them give a little bit of introduction for themselves. So Felix, GM, I'll start with you and then we'll go to Jesse. Give a little background of yourself if you don't mind before we get into Think and the Mint.
Cool. Can you guys hear me?
Sounds great.
We did, Mikey, just real quick, Mikey was on the Spaces stage. We lost him there, which is fine. Just wanted to let you know you fell off there. If you wanted to, feel free to throw in a request. We'll bring you back up. But there we go. Go ahead, Felix. GM, welcome.
Good morning. GM. Yeah, a quick background is been in the space since probably 2020 and did a lot of advising consulting for projects. Started working from a community aspect, got really involved with Proof when it kicked off, and then started working there, kind of scaling that and riding that roller coaster. Ended up facilitating the sale to Yuga, and again, continued with that roller coaster. Worked at Yuga for a handful of months after that sale, and actually did a move across the country, and coincidentally ended up in the same area as Mike and Jesse here. It was very interested in what they were doing, and it aligned a lot with my ethos. And I was at a point where in my career, I just wanted to work with friends, and something that we believed in collectively. And I've been crunching on this with these guys for a year now, and we're finally in shipping mode. So that's the quick and dirty, the background. Seen all of it from behind the curtain and from in the trenches with the community aspect, and excited to be shipping something that we don't believe in. Let me rephrase that. That not only we believe in, but the actual community is really starting to, and I say community is in the bleeding edge of technology, is really starting to pick up on. The agent meta that we caught end of last year, which was all just wrapped chat boxes, is really starting to break wide open. I'm just excited to be at what I would call the right place at the right time.
Love that. And yeah, I know you've been working on this for a little bit, and somebody who is like, one of the things I love about working in this space is you are able to like meet people like Felix and Jesse, you were bringing here in a second, who you have been bumping around this space for a while, clearly are here to build and actually try and do things. It's not like, Moonbird sold to Yuga, you worked it there, you fucked off to the beach, or you went here. It's like you actually care about building something cool and meaningful, which is awesome. We do appreciate that. Jesse, same thing. You're another one of those people who I think is always kind of around Web3 and the cutting edge of technology in general. Jesse, if you don't mind, give a little bit of your background to start before we dive into the Mint tomorrow.
Sure. Happy to. Thanks for having us. It's always good to see you guys. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, my background is really mostly on the comms marketing side. Before this, ran an agency in Seattle for 13 years. Ran an agency. My clients were, Amazon, Starbucks, Microsoft, Xbox, Seahawks. I did like Wear 12 for the Seahawks, stuff like that. And so before that, deep background on the media side, direct a couple movies when I was in my 20s, things like that. And so, but I'm kind of in the group. I was kind of the Web3 guy, and Mike was the AI guy. And so it was a lot of, in the early days, Mike teaching me about AI, and then me kind of showing Mike kind of like why I think Web3 is the right place to build the stack. I don't know. Just so at a high level, I'm usually on the comms marketing media side.
Very nice. Well, let's get into, I'm actually going to go over to Mike, who's here a couple of weeks ago, gave us his background. So we won't go deep into that, but remind people what, because we have this concept of AI agents being like, this is different. When AI agents first came out, I'm like, congratulations, you put a Twitter bot and put a token around it, and you've created this sort of deity on Twitter that people worship, who maybe has a potty mouth, and people get excited about it. Talk about why this is different.
Yeah, for sure. So AI is working its way into every single part of our lives. And we may not see it because we're used to using our phones, right? But whether it comes to how we consume media, how our money is spent and where it's spent at, and how our technology is coordinated, AI becomes the control planes for our entire lives. And so it makes sense that kind of the first thing that you would see would be like entertainment value, right? Like people in crypto are really good at figuring out how to get their customer acquisition costs low by using something interesting to catch their attention. And so it makes sense that those first agents would be like that. But what we have right now is we actually have a world in which these, the chat GPT is getting tool use, right? And like when you think about what happened once humans got tool use, we saw them going from hunters and gatherers to farmers to making cities to calculus to atom bombs and planes in not that long of a period of time. Agents are moving at that kind of rate and they are becoming part of our lives. And so right now, we're kind of at that age where we went from last year, it was a spectacle, to this year, it's just standard part of most jobs where they're starting to say like, hey, you've got to be using this. Next year, it's literally going to be, if you have a job, it's because you've done your AI well. And so right now is the time where we need the citizen-owned platforms, kind of like we need citizen-owned money with Bitcoin. Now we have a free ability to have intelligence. So the freedom to own our intelligence is on the line right now, and we get to be the ones to bring that to the world.
And Steve, I can double click on that a little bit too. It always looks like a toy at the beginning, dude. And you've been in media a long time. You know this stuff. Like we're still in the iPhone, I can make it look like I'm drinking a beer if I tip it sideways type of app store experience right now. Right. It's just the one thing I would say about this space right now, though, is it's just iterating so much faster. Like if you think about it, for this super early old, I'm in my 40s. I got 4 kids. Like I've been around for a while, and like I remember like waiting in line to get an iPhone. If you remember that, that's kind of still in the period we're in, and it almost looks like a joke. I mean, here's another kind of data point on this. So Sam Altman said to get adoption just for like ChatGPT, it took months to get the first million users. But with the Studio Ghibli thing, which looks like a toy, right? They had a million new signups in 24 hours. So we're kind of at that moment where it's like it's a toy, but it's starting to you can start to get a glimpse of what it's about to be. We're in the in between.
Interesting. And so I probably was I like this because I often I guess I was a little bit of a hypocrite myself, because I often credit the early NFT innovators to say like they're the ones who got us to where we are now. But I was definitely shit all over some of these AI bots. But I think part of it was me feeling like a lot of these AI bots, people acted like these were like the next thing. And I was always like, this is not it. AI's got so much more power than a shit poster on the internet, and we're starting to see more iterations of that. I want to go back to you, Mikey, because you said like your job may be dependent on how well you use AI. How much will be dependent on? We talked about it a little bit last time. Everyone's probably going to have their own AI agent as it is. You're talking about doing that as well. Like you're getting the agent, you're able to sort of train it up. How is it going to be based on how well you sort of train your dog, sort of train your AI agent, or is it going to be how you use all the scope of AI tools if people are thinking? How do you think about that?
Steve, Mikey told us last, these are our dogs. These are our children.
I know. I always use dog, and it's like I feel like they've graduated. Good point.
Yeah, they totally have graduated, and the reality is that it's going to start off as being both. Right? You are going to be teaching it kind of like a child in the beginning. You're spending all your time saying, these are my values. This is what I know. These are my special skills. And that's your opportunity to create a business off of this, right? If you miss that ability and your personal skills now become a commodity, you're now in the spot where you're playing catch up. So now you're in the spot where you need that AI to try to catch up to the person who made a business around it. And so like whatever your field of expertise is, like that is the data that you have control over at this point in time. You kind of like, if it's the game of Monopoly, that's the property that you own, and you can start building houses on it. But like, if you get to the spot where it's like, oh, well, this AI is perfect. Now you've passed the point in time where it's a pioneering opportunity. And now you're in a spot where, you're living in somebody else's town paying rent.
Like that. Good. Jesse. Good.
Well, what I would say is, Jensen, the CEO of NVIDIA, said AI is not going to take your job. Someone that uses AI is going to. Okay, so like it's always hard when there's a new technology because it feels like something we've never seen before. But I think about it more like this: like imagine there's a new thing coming out called the internet, and people are like, how's it going to take my job? It's like, well, I mean, it's going to be somebody who knows how to use the internet will probably be taking your job, right? And so what you want to do is figure out, how do I monetize my unique algorithm? Like, if you look at yourself as an algorithm and go, cool, like with the it's just like in Web 2, right? It's just like in real life is a better way to think about it. It's like, well, with the brain and the skills and the knowledge I have, what can I do? And like you and Cap are like, oh, we could start a show and we can do this and this. And so it's kind of like, cool, with your unique algorithm. One of the things that we're always the drum we're always banging on is that you need to own your own data. And the reason why that's so important, Cap and Steve, is if you don't own your own data, in essence, you're giving away your unique algorithm to the whole world, right? And so like some of these places that have already started replacing people, it's because they had like their team's data and their emails, so they could create an agent that can approximate how they would make a decision, so they don't need the person anymore. Does that make sense? And so like if all of a sudden your guys' background in media and like, I mean, Steve, you were in the news and all this stuff, right? If you took that and you figured out how to crystallize that inside of an agent, then you can monetize that agent. It's almost like taking your past skills and your knowledge base, crystallizing it in a way that other people can interact with that agent. And now you can monetize that. And so it's not necessarily about becoming something new. It's about figuring out how to take what you already are. And in the same way we might say, and monetize it on the internet. Now it's take what you are, crystallize that into a unique agent, and then you can send out almost like an infinite consultant that can work with everyone else. Does that make sense? It's still about you at the center and how to bring your unique knowledge base and the way you see the world to this new medium.
Yeah, I like the way you're positioning that. And Felix, I'd like to get your take on that as well. So, you know, I make the point. Actually, we had, you know, Jonah was on last week talking about the fact that he went to film school, and he's like, I learned nothing from film school, and now I'm creating AI trailers, and suddenly my film school talent or film school things come into play. And yeah, I think it's a really, really well said, Jesse. And Felix, I'd be curious your take on this. That it's the do you think that these, you know, as somebody builds agents and starts, you know, building these, you know, and sort of training them, is it going to be, you know, is it going to be as unique as the people themselves, just without the same emotional sort of response to things? Or is it going to be like, tell me about how you envision this as well.
I'll give a good example. I come from a property development world where I bounced around the world, basically fixing what they call projects in distress. I have a former colleague that is deep in the AI space from a user perspective, and he is now, we'll call him a high-performing individual in the industry, where they're blown away with what he can turn out. I was talking to him the other day about what we're building here and how he wants to get on board, but the comparison, he's doing as much work as an individual as a colleague of his with 5 people working for him, fresh out of college. This is in Los Angeles. They're earning, like, the college graduates are base salaries around 90 grand a year, and they're pouring through contracts and trying to find bits and pieces. And he's able to do it all just with an AI agent, the equivalent of like 4 to 5 people's workload, and to the point where the company he works for doesn't understand how he does it, and they're asking all the questions. And part of the reason I got out of that industry was because they're so slow to adopt technology. You know, I was convincing people to look at plans on an iPad versus a big ream of paper, and he's just eating it up. And that's just a good example of people that are that have an open mind, and they're willing to use this stuff and figure out how it works for them. How it's like the people, to Jesse's point earlier, the people that are going to win are the people using AI versus AI taking your job.
I love what Felix said. Can I double click on that, guys? Because can you see how, like, if I just took like a model and dumped all those contracts into there, I still couldn't do that guy's job because I don't know what questions to ask, right? It's like, Steve, I mean, imagine this. If I said, like, check it out, I can use my agent to make social media content. Well, but if you don't know what a good post is, right? Or if you're like, hey, take this and add personality, it's that last 5% that a human will bring to it that will make it feel magic, you know? Like, you still need to know what question to ask. It's really going to come down to how good of a prompter are you, right? In a lot of these cases. And so that's why all of a sudden somebody's like, oh man, I went to film school. I didn't realize, oh wait, actually I'm using that more. Those skills that I thought were dormant are actually more powerful than they've ever been, because I still have to understand what I'm asking it to do. It's almost like saying, look how powerful a computer is. It's like, well, sure, but do you know how to code? Do you know how to use Photoshop? Do you know, right? It's going to be more around like, the use case, like Felix said, is just so perfect because the fact that he still have enough industry knowledge to navigate, to figure out how to plus that with technology.
You mentioned like knowing what questions to ask. I don't want to, maybe I'm front running the conversation here a little bit, but I do have to share, you've got both in the chat, well, all the chats, but also coming out of the Discord. I won't out any individuals, but you got a lot of fans. Several really excited. I'm going to quote one says, "I love me some AI hacking efficiency or some hacking efficiency with AI talk. I have no idea what product they're building, but they're speaking my language." A couple people like they're in. One said I'm minting, but I don't know what quite this agent is doing yet. What exactly will we be minting tomorrow?
Felix will kill that.
Yeah, so this is what we call the Think Agent Bundle. So we've partnered with Magic Eden. It's going to be a 24-hour mint. You're going to get what we're calling a first edition agent, which is going to give you some extra future utility. But the big one is it's going to get you access. So firstly, it's on chain. So like talk about, and you guys can probably appreciate this, skating to where the puck's going. There's a lot of Web 2 AI infrastructure out there. This is all going to be on chain. We're future proofing for what we consider a tokenized, a future. So on-chain agent that you'll be able to connect to platform souls, and Jesse can touch a little bit more on that, but that's like our browser for the agentic web. It's going to run on a digital currency, Think. So part of this bundle tomorrow is you mint the actual agent. There's a dynamic allocation of Think. So it's almost like a pre-sale of a token to some degree. If you mint ID number 1, you'll get 5,000 Think tokens at TGE next month. If you mint ID number 2, you'll get 4,999. ID number 3, 4,998. It cascades down. So a lot of the open mints get a big rush at that last like 10, 15 minutes because people want to see what the momentum's like. We're actually incentivizing people to be the first ones to mint in this model. It runs all the way down to 2,500, and then that's a flat line. So everyone will be guaranteed 2,500 Think tokens next month at TGE. There's also a 10% chance that you'll receive a 10,000 bonus allocation of Think at TGE that will be auto staked for you. We've partnered with an artist, BASIIC, who I'd collaborated with when I was at Proof. They're an anonymous AI agent or group of anonymous people, not exactly sure, but we reached out to them with just a very simple request, which was, what would a digital soul look like? And then they went down this whole journey. So they've dropped a couple of trailers over the last couple of weeks. They've done some pretty cool things where we're giving them a bunch of tokens as part of their payment for this. And they came out last week and decided that they're just going to give all those tokens back to their art collectors. So there's some cool collaborations, and that's the kind of stuff that we really dig. Like, we're looking for that everybody wins solutions. There's a saying that Mike and Jesse talk about, it is like, the more you give, the more you receive. And so working with people like that is a blast. And I'll hit a very quick timeline. So tomorrow is the mint, 0.27 ETH. So it's not a cheap mint. However, it gets you your first edition agent. It gets you token allocation. Next month is the TGE. It also gets you the art and some future stuff. So tomorrow's the mint. Next month is the TGE. June, we're dropping the platform Souls, which is the browser for the agentic web, which we did a couple of sneak peeks over, I think, on Friday and over the weekend. And then in my opinion, one of the really interesting gamification parts for those that from a Web3 perspective is in July, we'll be dropping the Think Tank, which is a staking mechanic where we're going to be partnering with a bunch of ecosystem players for our core community of people that participate in this mint and hold these assets. They're actually going to start getting rewarded in a basket of rewards from other communities. And I'll use the example of Venice that did a drop a couple of months ago. They went and highlighted a bunch of AI tokens in the base ecosystem, and they just airdropped everyone those kind of tokens. So what we're trying to pull together here tomorrow with this mint is a bunch of core AI users, not just coin speculators, but people actually wanting to use this technology. And by holding one of these assets and staking Think, you'll become a cohort that we're actually kind of shopping to a bunch of partners And a lot of those partners are interested in giving token allocations to these people because they're actually users, beta testers, people that are going to get under the hood and use a lot of these emerging products and protocols, not just people trying to farm tokens. So that's a really interesting thing where we are hopefully going to be able to provide a large ecosystem reward to our our core contributors. And when I say ecosystem, I'm going to touch briefly on an organization that we found called the Independent AI Institute. It's an organization of over 70 companies that have been built up over the last 12 months that are all committed to building on the Think standards. And Think is a protocol, and again, Mikey can touch on this more, but that is the decentralized AI movement. And with our thesis that everyone is going to have a personalized agent and that is your future to the agentic web, you're not going to have to go through an app store trying to find 50 different agents that do various things for you. You're going to actually have your personal agent that will do most of that orchestration on your behalf. And these are a list of companies that have aligned with that vision and are working with us to ultimately deliver that product. And this thing just keeps growing. To give context, we soft launched it in October at permissionless with 20 companies. And then in February, we firm launched it at ETH Denver with 50 companies. And now we're like at 75 companies and growing. Our most recent additions, we did an announcement on Friday that we're partnering with Alchemy. And for those that work in the Web3 space, you may be familiar with Alchemy as like the company that does all the API and the Web3 tooling. They have come to us wanting us to help them with their Web3 AI stack. And then we've got a couple more big announcements coming out today and tomorrow, which I won't front run.
It seems like almost every day for the last couple of weeks, I've seen a new partnership. Is this where most of those partnerships all meet? Is that right?
Yeah. So you can think about it like this. The internet itself didn't keep progressing because it got privatized, right? Like, is your user account part of your internet, or is it part of some website like that Meta owns or Google owns, right? And the way that you do money, does that happen through a credit card in a bank, or is it part of the internet? Well, Bitcoin makes money part of the internet, right? We're missing that identity piece. And so what we've done so far is we've done a bunch of geeky stuff that has made this possible, right? Like we literally pioneered the idea that agents are going to use tools using Web3. And about a year ago, we started that. That's kind of the formation of it. Now that's a term called MCP that you may hear people talk about in Web2. Then we allowed agents to be able to talk to each other, right? To transact information. And that's called A2A. Google just came out with a thing of that basically all the big companies in the world are starting to adopt. We've been there for, a month or two longer than them. But the thing that they don't have that Web3 has that really puts all of us in a huge advantage and unlocks kind of the business potential is the ability for these agents to transact with one another. So we worked with Venice on the ability to have an agent say, hey, I'm a Think agent. I would like to work with Venice. It creates an API key and allows you to pay in a microtransaction of Bitcoin or Venice, for example. That last piece is the piece that allows all of the companies to build on top without having to make a user account. And if you think about it, in any kind of Web2 AI business, their biggest problem is customer acquisition costs and the friction of getting people started. With Think agents now, the user doesn't even have to think about any of this geeky stuff, right? They get a beautiful interface. We talked about Souls. Their Souls becomes the almost operating system that all these tools can plug into. And so as a user, you have access to this growing ecosystem without the friction or without having to make decisions about going, Apple versus Android or Meta versus Google. Your agent just speaks the language of the internet, and now we can all interoperate.
Muted, Steve.
Happens. We've had a couple of people asking specifically related to the mint and the tokens on the mint. So one question we had was people were saying, look, let's say I mint, I'm excited. I love AI. I love the concept of actually owning my own data, because part of the unique selling point, so we don't lose the plot, is actually owning your data and not sharing your data with all these, other companies. A couple of people have said oh, well, you can work on agents elsewhere, but the whole idea is not giving up your data to everybody else. So want to make sure we double tap on that. But they're saying, hey, I'm in tomorrow, and then I get a bunch of Think tokens at TGE. What am I using those for?
Jesse, do you want to talk about Souls or me?
Here, you want to talk about the token? I'll talk about the platform. So
Yeah, sounds good.
Think token and how it's used.
Yeah, so I'll start with Think token. And so as you come on to Think, you have the initial base functionality. So in the first agent client that we have, like you could do all of your AI locally, for example, right? Like John does it on his. There's a freemium amount that you can call out to Venice, and you kind of have this base functionality that you would be used to on like an OpenAI. But now let's say that you guys are building your Coffee for Captain scheduling app, right? And you're like, well, I'm scheduling with all these people every day, and I want to turn Coffee with Captain into this massive media juggernaut. You might set up a pretty simple workflow that might take a couple, a day or two to put together. Now you've got all your scheduling automated and these sorts of things. And you might decide like, hey, other people that are handling Web3 shows, I'm going to charge them $100 a year or $10 a month or whatever you figure out your business model is. And now those agents can transact using Think tokens, and Think becomes a standard pair with anything else out there. So in the same way that an exchange, you might be trading tokens, we have like an exchange underneath the system. So you don't actually have to think about the swaps that are taking place. It's just how you coordinate a large decentralized system. And you'll get all those tokens for that.
So really, it's going to be the token that your agents can use to transact with each other. But Steve, I would think about it like this, like the last year and a half of people maybe watching like Mike and I, what we've been doing, it's because the first you have to get the shared standards, right? Because like the first meetup of people that even cared about decentralized AI, Mike, you were there was like 25 people there, right? It wasn't that long ago. Okay. And so we got to get everybody to agree on standards so we can start to build stuff. Well, that's what we've been doing for like the last year and a half. Now that we have those standards in place, now we can build our first kind of product on top of it. It's almost like, hey, we're building like, an operating system. Cool. Now we're going to build, Word on top of it so you can see how powerful Windows is. Does that make sense? And so we're going like, cool. So how do we help people understand how powerful kind of this Think layer is? And so we're starting our platform called Souls, and it allows you to do 3 unique things. And the first one is you own it, right? And so that's incredibly important. Like I said, your agent's going to see everything on your computer, and it's going to see everything you look at on the internet, right? For those of us in Web3 that really care, that have things like keys and even like pictures of your kids and maybe proprietary data around your business, making sure that stays, like for me, like at least when I use Souls, the first thing it asks me is like, where do you want your data to go? And I just say on my device. So right now I'm currently just storing all of my own stuff on my device because that's what I feel comfortable with. Steve, if you really trust, Tim Cook, which I actually trust Tim Cook more than a lot of other folks in the space, you could go, oh, I want to store it to my iCloud, right? But the main thing is you choose where your data goes, right? Because like I said, if you start to think about how like every person's a unique algorithm, if I'm seeing every email you write, if I'm seeing everything on your computer, I can kind of duplicate you pretty quickly, right? And then all of a sudden it diminishes your value, And so also just basic stuff too, like I said, like healthcare records, all that kind of stuff. I want all that data on my own personal device. So number one, you own the data, you know where it's going, right? It's not leaving your device. Number two, it evolves every day. Our CTO John says we're like an index of indexes, right? So because we can connect all the open source MCPs together, we can also connect, like our friends at Morpheus are about to launch this thing called super agents, which are really cool because we all have the same shared standards. Those will connect in, and you almost think about it like a brain. And like every time we add an MCP or super agents or something, it's almost like adding more neurons to the brain, and it's getting smarter every day. So we say that it'll get smarter every day. It will evolve every day because every time those MCPs and all that open source software is updated, in essence, you're updating Souls, right? So number one, you own the data. Number two, it evolves every day. And number three, it's personal, which means you get to choose how you want to interact with your agent. So for you guys, you got 3D files with your apes. If you want to have like your version of Jarvis skinned, where you're sitting there talking to your ape, more power to you, right? If you're like, oh, I wanted to have this type of a voice, I want it, right? And so that's kind of the last layer. And the reason why I also give the value props first is like, own your data, it evolves every day, and then it's personal, is because that's also the order we're building in. So we're hyper focused right now on own your own data and functionality of adding more MCPs every day and getting it smarter and smarter and smarter. And then at launch, once we get through MVP, that's when we're going to start integrating kind of the personalized tools of, and we actually have a big announcement today with a blue chip NFT project that's going to be available day one on the platform, which will be coming out later on today, which super cool team. You guys are all friends. It's going to be great. I think you're going to dig it. And so it's personal, but those are kind of the 3 things we're bringing to the market. If I was to say like, what's the most important one? Data. I cannot keep I'm going to keep hitting this drum, and I'm trying to use really extreme language around it. It sees everything you see on the internet. It sees everything that's on your computer, because I'm trying to help people understand that like here's a test. If you're in the audience right now and you've been using ChatGPT, open it up right now and say and ask it, what do you know about me? Okay. And you're about to get your mind blown. And if you want to get really scared, say, what are my blind spots and how can I improve? Okay. If you're not blown away by those responses, because right now you might be thinking like, oh, I've been using ChatGPT for a couple of things and making photos and stuff. Go and ask it what it knows about you, and then start to say, do I want it to? And do I want that part of me owned by Sam, Uncle Sam is what I call him, right? Like Sam Altman and his whole WorldCoin bullshit and looking to my orb. Do you really want him to know everything about you and your kids? Or would you rather custody that on your device? That's what we make possible. And if you have a slower device and like, oh, I got a Chromebook, it's like, well, the good news is we have a partnership with Venice, big fans of Venice, and you can always, use their stuff because they also don't cache your data. If you don't care about this shit at all, and you just go, I'm tired of switching between OpenAI and Claude and Manus, blah, blah, well, guess what? Add those API keys. You can run them all inside of Souls. We have demos. We also have a demo we shot on Thursday. It's just off the cuff using the product. If anybody wants to see it, we could probably pin it. Yeah, that's the pitch, Steve. But if you have a fast enough machine and you can run your own models on your computer, this stuff you don't even need to touch the internet.
Yeah, that's the go ahead, Cap.
I wish when you say if you have a fast enough machine, like what is like someone's in the market for a new device today? Like what are like some of the minimum? And we don't have to get into all the details, but like, is there an off-the-shelf machine that you'd recommend? Is it
a Mac Mini?
We actually have an entire we have a whole thread, Cap, that I can have the Think account pin where awesome. John, our CTO, went through and said, here's PC specs, here's Apple specs. But Mike, if you know off the top of your head.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, a Mac Mini with maxed out memory is great. And so is like a 3090 or 4090 on a PC. It's basically what you're looking at is you want the GPU memory to be as high as possible. That's kind of and every week a new model's coming out and they're getting smaller. So more and more performant things can happen locally on your machine.
No, thanks for that. Like I haven't made that leap yet, but the more I hear you talk about it, it feels like, especially with as much content and stuff we put out there, I'm getting to the point, like, I feel I should have a machine that essentially serves as my AI brain. Am I thinking about this right or no?
Yeah, 100%. That's what Mike and I are building. Yeah. Like Mike and I are literally speccing those right now. And so what we'll do is we're going to make content around us building our setups. Very cool. And then hopefully it'll be helpful.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay. So I'm going to do one just like an extreme Black Mirror thing. And then I'm going to talk about like why economically like this group can win in a huge way. So the first one is Black Mirror. Do you know how many devices you have in your house that are connecting to your Wi-Fi and the number of people that just say like, yes, grant access to talk to these machines? It's like my fan and my dryer and like all my shit wants to talk to the internet. That Wi-Fi router, when you have access to it, can actually do a 3D scan that's like millimeter perfect of everything around you. Now you take an AI that like when you go use ChatGPT and say,
why can it do that out of curiosity? Like, I don't know if like, you know the answer to that, but I've heard that. And like, I always didn't, to be honest, I've always thought, is this true or is this junk science? Cause I just don't know. And that part, and no, I believe you, but like, why? Like, why does it need that functionality? Okay. Is it because, or is it just because it's sending out the Wi-Fi and it built, like, why would it be able to, or need to be able to do that?
Well, it doesn't, it's not that it needs to, it's that that's the function of sending frequencies out and getting them back. And so what they do is they basically set up a camera in a space and then they have a large language model that is predicting
it translates
what's there.
I see.
And so in the same way that they're predicting what the next
think
word
about
is
data
as a large language model.
And if I can translate it, I know what it says.
And so they can get a very accurate 3D model of everything that's happening in every space. So now you have a world where you don't have anything looking out for you, right? You've got no leverage in this situation. Like you may as well be an alien that's watching you, right? And then you've got your entire life is being run in a digital space. You're stuck in a physical space, and now you're renting your ability to access that digital space. So it's a strange place to be. And as people, if we don't say like, hey, agency is important, kind of like we say, hey, it's important that I've got my crypto keys because the banks might cancel me or this or that, or whatever the reason is that you want that autonomy. Why is free speech important? Why are any of these things important? It's because that becomes the structure of our lives. And so right now, though, the good news is that we're not too late. So last week at RenderCon, like I hadn't really realized how big Render is in the non-Web3 community. Is that, do you know that Render is actually like on the editing machines of just about every Hollywood animator? And like when they want to see what something looks like before, like the Star Trek movie, right? They're doing the entire Star Trek movie is like on Render, and they will go and they'll say like render these scenes, and you'll see it split off amongst thousands of people's GPUs. And like that's literally how it works, and how Hollywood, it's the default way that Hollywood runs. Now they're in a spot where they're like, okay, well, we're installed on all these big machines, right? And they have like, I mean, they're a huge token with, I think they hired their first marketing person last week, and I'm not joking about that. Like they're the opposite of all the other groups you see, but they're in a spot where they're like, okay, well, AI is changing right now, or like the nature of film is changing to be AI based versus like 3D model based. And so they see what we're doing at Think, and they just passed a big proposal over the weekend with like a 99% yes, that they're going to change their fundamental structure to support AI. And the thing that's so cool about this is because we have Web3 components in place, it's not like you need to like rewrite the thing from scratch. It's you start to be able to authenticate with a Think agent, what we call a SOL, which you can think of as being like a domain name almost, right? It's like that's the address that makes everything work. And now we're in a spot where that company that before might have to spend $10 or $20 million, hire a full team, and now they're starting from scratch, is they can actually come into Souls and start having generative AI images and videos. And that can all happen in this interface on the same GPUs they had. And that's why interoperability is so important here, is that it actually like lets us build the foundation that we can build a whole world on top of. And I literally mean a world, because like Bitcoin, for example, right? Like how much compute do you think is going on in the Bitcoin network today?
Couldn't even tell you.
It's way more than at Amazon.
Really?
Like we don't think about that, right? But there's way more hash power going on within the Bitcoin network every single day than there is going on at Amazon. And like as we start to bring together these real world use cases like Render, like actually being the ones that make the top level films, and you connect these pieces together, now you're in a spot where like massive markets can become, like I think they said that's 1/10 the cost to use Render versus AWS, and Render's still winning, right? Like there's still profit margin there. Like what we can do if we actually get past kind of this shitcoin trying to speculate thing, and we actually start building real infrastructure and real businesses, I think we're all going to be really happy when we start going that direction.
How do you guarantee this privacy for people? Like people who are, you're saying like, hey, you're going to own your own data, you're going to own everything here. How do you lock that down?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways. So one, it's on your computer, right? So your computer is the safest place for you because you have physical control over it, right? Like you might not like, hey, you should have a password on your computer. You should, not download like, but a lot of Web3 folks have found this out the hard way, how to keep their computer locked down, right? And so like, we're all kind of in the spot where we know how to lock down our computer. We also have the keys. So like your agent is being custodied in the way that you might custody any NFT. And so now you've got your keys that can that are able to keep everything under lockdown, and you've got your own machine. Anything that's leaving your machine, you're the one deciding to do that.
Got it. It makes sense. Now, a couple people would put a question in the chat, so I got to ask. They said, there are sort of previous projects that have sort of evolved into here. There is 6079. There's Alfie. Is there any tie-in from that, or any missions or points or anything people need to think about when they come to claiming all that stuff?
I can let Felix talk about the points and stuff, but I would say, because here's the evolution, Steve, was when we were building Alfie, we actually were like, we couldn't build what we wanted to build right now because it wasn't possible. And so we were building like an agent for Alfie, and it was like, God, man, can you imagine if we could just unleash these agents on the whole world? And then Zuckerberg dropped Llama, and like Mike and I looked at each other and was like, holy shit, you could actually do decentralized AI now. Like that was the moment. But if for those of you that remember Alfie, you go to the front page of Alfie, and this was what, 2 some odd years ago, and you could talk to an AI, ask it anything about the database, and it bring you back answers. So like when you talk about front running, like we were way out in front on this stuff, but we could only build it in a really constrained space, and we couldn't actually decentralize it and things like that the way we wanted to. And so as soon as Zuckerberg dropped Llama, it was like, whoa, okay, we could actually The stack is there, it's possible now, right? And so if people remember Alfie, it's like this started at Alfie is when we cracked the nut on how to do decentralized kind of agents, right? And then we were like, well, you got to start a movement, because the only way for us to compete with the biggest companies in the world is we have to have like a groundswell. So we started kind of this movement, and the movement was 6079. 6079 is named after Winston Smith from the book 1984. When the state takes away his name, they replace his name with the number 6079. And so that was like, hey, I wonder if we could start a movement of like, hey, you should care about this stuff, right? And get enough people together to maybe even possibly do standards. Well, guess what? That happened. So we created standards, and those standards were called Think Standards. And now we're creating our first product on top of it. So I guess those who have been following along at home, it's like, every one of these things has to happen. It's almost like, man, you guys are building a town and you spent so much time. It's like, well, yeah, you got to cut down the trees, and then you got to like put in roads, and you got to put in sewage, and that stuff. When you're doing that, it doesn't look like anything's happening, right? Like the fact that Mike's like speaking at RenderCon last week, and we announced our partnership with Render, and we announced our partnership with Alchemy, and and like you said, Steve, I think you said a minute ago, it's like you guys are having a new announcements every day. It's like, yeah, that's what we've been doing for the last year and a half, is like building standards so that everybody can trust each other, so that we can work together. And now it's like we have a bucket more, a bunch more, announcements even coming today, right? And so we've hit the point now where all these things are stacking. That being said, if you are an original Tarva gem holder from helping us get Alfie set up, you're going to be very well taken care of. If you played our games, guess what? Those points are going to come in to play. I don't think our lawyers will let us talk about that because it's a TGE thing, but like you will be taken care of. Like if you've been with us for the last 2 years along this journey, right? From the distance, it might not look the same, but behind the scenes, it's all the kind of Lego bricks we've been connecting, and we're watching out for everybody in our community. Does that answer the question?
I think as legally and as compliant as you can. Yes.
I'm also gonna say 3 months ago, what we're doing right now would be federally illegal probably. There was an executive order around AI that may as well have been written by OpenAI's PR department, that essentially was going to allow a monopoly of the biggest companies in the world to own our data almost completely. And so like we've been setting in this spot where we're literally not knowing whether I'm going to have to go be the lead man on taking on the go sit in front of Congress type of level of things. And that's a very different approach than if what you're doing is a product that everyone can use. And so the thing that's been so cool in the last 3 months is like, I feel like we've had what used to be like 5 to 10 years of startup evolution has happened in like a 3-month period of time. And right now you're starting to see all that technology come on board, and Think is kind of positioned to be that hub that everything connects into.
I dig it. So another question we got from the chat is people who say, look, I can't afford the mint tomorrow. How do I get involved after that? Like if they
yeah, I love that question. Okay, so just for everybody, remember we used to have these like posters and stuff. It's the brain fist that Mike's wearing, where we always said free think. Well, we actually meant that very much literally. Okay, so it's almost like how a Tesla, it's like, hey, if you can afford a Roadster, help us build this Roadster, because our goal is to get to like, a $30,000 car in a few years. We're very much doing something similar to that, Steve. So like our goal is that if you want access to the tokens, and the tokens will allow you to like use, faster models and use other people's agents and all that kind of fun stuff. Great. If you don't need that functionality, when we launch like straight up, if you only care about own it, I want to own my data and it gets smarter every day, that it will be free. Okay. So like if you have a decent machine, you download this, we have no monthly subscription, right? Like when people start to make the connection on like, hold on a second. So I download this to my computer and I'm using my own like infrastructure on my computer for my inference and all that. It's like, cool. What's my cost on that? It's like $0. The cost is $0. So like I was actually at a school in Austin last week because I'm trying to figure out like, how do we make this software available to like everyone, so you can literally have free think. You can actually use non-nerfed, non-monitored, decentralized like AI on your device for free is what that is like our mission, right? Now, if you want to like, I want to pull in my NFT and I want to use Captain's agent and all this stuff, it's like, cool. You need Think tokens for that. That costs money. But if you're just like a person that goes, I can't afford access to Intel, because the world we're trying to avoid right now, you guys, is the world where the haves and the have-nots, where, hey, if you can't afford $100 a month, because that's the thing with OpenAI, look at their pricing. It keeps going up. Remember the old days of like Uber, where you're like, dude, I can take an Uber for $5. It's great. And now I can't even go to the airport for less than $200.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it, Cap.
I just had this experience last week because I accidentally logged in under the wrong Gmail account. Didn't realize it downgraded me to the free version. Now does the paid version keep going up? It feels like the free version is getting worse. Is this in my head, or do you think they actually are?
That'd be a mic question.
Nerfing the free version to force people to go to the paid model?
Oh, for sure they are. Yeah. I mean, Google's hurting big time because they're getting replaced by AI, right? Like, and they're trying to get ahead. You know, all the early adopters are switching from Google to Perplexity or something else. And so they are in a real tight spot. And that's what happens with businesses, right? Like when Facebook launched, remember how many games and stuff were on there and they let anybody build? And then, do you remember Zynga? Like, they're gone because when you build on somebody else's land, like rent's going to keep going up. Like if you create a super successful restaurant on a prize corner, but you don't own the land, well, you basically have to make your money before the next lease comes up, right?
Yeah. But Cap, does that make sense? Like when we say like free think, it's funny. I think people look back at that campaign and be like, oh, they were meant literally. It's like, yeah, literally. Can you run it on your device? Yeah. Okay, cool. Download your own models. What does that mean? It means our software just allows you to connect into all the open source stuff so that you don't have to be an engineer to do that. And then what? And then nothing. We can't see your data. You don't pay us. You see what I'm saying? Like we're trying to create this foundation of like the, again, if you're an engineer, you can do a lot of the stuff we're saying, but we're trying to make it. Steve Jobs used to say his job was to make computers for mere mortals. We're trying to make decentralized open source AI for mere mortals. And so there is no contract to sign. There's no like small ink and there's no monthly subscriptions. So if you can afford to help us build this thing and give it away for free, please do. If you can't, give us a couple of months and you will be able to use this on any of your devices, right? And it might not be as performant as the folks that have, you know, the money for like faster GPUs and stuff, but at the very least, you'll be able to have access to the agentic web and not be turned into somebody else's battery.
It's awesome.
Can I do like a parable here? Like, imagine that you got to relaunch Facebook today. But what you basically said is like, hey, on launch day, it's going to cost $500 to pick out your username, but you own it as an NFT and you're going to take it wherever you want to. And there's only going to ever be, remember they used to have like Facebook tokens when it first came out, whenever I was in college. Imagine it's like, there's only going to ever be 1 billion of these on Facebook, and it's what you're going to use to buy ads. It's what you're going to use to pay for apps. It's kind of like anything you would pay for in the Meta, you know, Instagram, WhatsApp, you know, the whole world that comes out of this. And if you hold those, you're going to basically share a stream with all the other people that hold those of 30% of all the tokens ever made. Right. And so now as you have your Facebook account and let's say you want to start your business or your nonprofit or whatever, or you want to advertise or whatever the service is that's in that ecosystem, now you are one of the early people. So now you own a bunch of the market. That's the same thing that's going on here.
Got it. So going into tomorrow, I know we're running up against time and some people are asking. So for the mint, it basically is for tomorrow, it's going to run you about, you know, because like, let's not forget, ETH is not exactly pumping right now. So 0.27 is about $430, $450, something around that line, depending on the time of day that we're looking at it to get this. And this will get you the agent, some level of preloaded tokens. Is that randomly determined? I didn't catch that part where you talked about which one you mint. Is that randomly determined or is that based on the mint in some way?
No, it's based on the mint. So the earlier you mint, the more tokens you get.
Got it. Perfect. Okay. Sorry. Recap on that part. So it's again, about $450 or less. It's going to get you this agent. The only way to get the agent is through the mint currently, but eventually in the future, there may be opportunities. Give us the full mint details for anybody who wants to potentially mint tomorrow with that 0.27 mint cost.
Yeah. So we're going to limit it 5 per wallet. It'll be on Magic Eden. The link will be posted today. It's a 24-hour open mint, and the lower the ID number on your actual NFT that you get will represent a higher allocation of tokens. And this will be the only way to access a first edition agent, which will get you early access to the platform and benefits in future staking protocols.
Got it. So
and art by an artist called BASIIC. Next versions of agents and whatnot won't be collaborating with this artist. It's just for this collection.
Awesome. So tomorrow, 24-hour mint. 0.27 ETH, again, currently sub $450. I know, again, for me, people pay OpenAI $20 a month. So, you can start doing the math on that and realizing that in a couple of years, this agent is basically probably going to be less than your ChatGPT you would have paid at that point, because I'm sure they're going to continue to up that price as they do. And then the tokens, which are the underlying infrastructure layer that will come loaded with tokens. The earlier you mint, the more tokens you receive. There will be randomized bonus of 10K tokens in some of them. Is that right? Is it randomized to make sure I got it?
Yep, 10% chance.
10% chance, 1 in 10. So 1 in 10 people like those odds. If you're a gambler in Web3, you play the mint lottery all the time. 1 in 10 is a pretty good chance. So that's the opportunity tomorrow to get one of the agents. Exciting times. As we mentioned, we have a partnership here, but very excited about not just the concept of what you're building, but the actual mission behind it. I think we are at this time right now where it's a very slippery slope with the sliding doors moment, where you have a lot of AI, and to your point, like the government's initially writing basically a press release from OpenAI. It's kind of decreeing other people or in other companies. Now we have a situation where you're trying to make it more owned agents versus giving your data, because I'll be honest, you talk about Black Mirror. If in 10 years they have duplicated me via the AI information they have, I'll be like, well, that was pretty fucking obvious in retrospect. And I think that that's the thing that we're looking at here with this, is trying to make it a little bit more open. So anything else we didn't hit on before we let y'all get out of here?
I would say for me, it's like my main thing is like, I love that somebody brought up, dude, times are tough right now. Somebody brought up the financial side. Like, again, don't FOMO into this. What we're trying to find is that red hot kind of center of people that want to help us beta test, take this thing to the next level, right? Like, we have big plans around this. But if you're like, man, that's really tight for me, it's like, hang tight. We're going to make sure that we get this in the hands of everybody. And then the only other thing for me is just like, Cap and Steve, you guys have been super good to us since day one, opening a lot of doors for us before you even knew what we were working on, and just being good people to us. And so it's always good to see you guys. I appreciate you having us on, and just appreciate the support.
Right on. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you right back. Well, that said, we'll let y'all get out of here. Thanks for coming through this morning. Looking forward to the mint tomorrow, and always best of luck on that sort of stuff. You never know how it's going to go. We'll see.
Yeah, Steve, like before we let him leave, I just got to say, like, this gets me excited. I still, just to be like, it's coming together in my head. I still don't fully grasp. Okay, I'm minting this thing for 0.25 tomorrow. I'm getting some of these tokens. Like, I don't know as if like this is, I'm not viewing this as a flip. Like, oh, that NFT is going to be worth more. And also, I'm not viewing it at all. To me, this is exciting time. It's like, I'm flashing back to like 2021, 2022, where we got really excited about founders, right? And this, to me, I feel like it's an opportunity for me to invest in a foundational level of something that I'm exciting that it's being built. Did they succeed? And does this become, do they achieve their vision? I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But it's as far as like something that's really impactful, something that's like the absolute polar opposite of a freaking content coin. Something that we've been just like disgusted with the past week. Like, this is doing nothing for society versus, oh my goodness, this could actually, I don't want to be like hyperbolic here and say this could save society, but it's in the range of outcomes. Like, they're working on something major here. So it just gets me excited to be, once again, get involved at a foundational level of something that, unlike the Zora token, that's just for fun. They're not doing this just for fun. Like, this is like, I'm sure there'll be fun along the way, but this is a really serious initiative. And like, this is part of what got me excited about crypto and Web3, is the opportunity to support builders like Jesse and Mikey and Felix, and to support initiatives like this that I do feel are important. We talk about, like, we're fortunate we get have on founders that are pushing the space forward. This truly is one, like, if this works and they achieve their goals and vision here, like, this is pushing humanity forward or potentially saving us. And, I would say no offense to Zora, but yeah, this is what I'm talking about when I get so frustrated with the Jessies and the Coinbases of the world. There's so much amazing stuff that's happening here right now that I think other builders would probably be blown away, as evidenced by the partnerships and collaboration they're getting. But yet this gets no attention from someone like Jesse, because he just wants to.
Other Jesse, we have good Jesse on.
Yeah,
today.
excuse me. I should have the Coinbase Jesse, who just wants to talk about pimping and squirting. Like, come on, like, there's actually really important stuff going on here. And so yeah, this is it's it feels like a palate cleanse. So thanks for coming on today. Perfect timing.
Appreciate you guys. And Cap, just so everybody knows, like, also everything we're doing is open source. So like we're giving it all out. Like if you want to build in this space and you want to take what we're doing and build something better than us, fucking go for it. Like it's all out there. It's going to be open. It will be free and it will be open source for everyone. And so we're excited. Like you said, Cap, we don't even care if we win. If we can give the code to somebody that can take this and run with it and take it further, all of us are like, fantastic. Let's go.
And what time, by the way, tomorrow? We had a couple of people saying what time. We know it's a 24-hour mint. Have you determined the exact time that it goes live? Because those early ones do matter.
Yeah, 11 a.m. PST.
11 a.m. PST. So there you go. 2 p.m. Eastern time, 11 a.m. PST. Awesome. So be ready for that. Set your calendars, kids. So, look, that said, appreciate you all coming through again. Like, I concur with Cap. It's like, it's a palate cleanse to go from what, the opening conversation we had today to actually talking about real like attempts at world changing technology. It is pretty fucking fun. So salute and hats off to you guys.
Have a great day, guys.